The town of Plainville. Established in 1721 at the geographical center of Connecticut.
Welcome everybody who may be watching or not. We're beginning the town council deliberations for the upcoming FY 2022 budget. This evening, we have a number of departments we're going to be going through, and we're going to begin with the library. Trish Tomlinson is here to walk us through or answer questions.
Yeah, I'm going to walk you through the budget.
You are?
And then
okay.
answer questions, and if
Okay.
we need to go to Trish, we'll go to Trish.
Hi, Trish. Okay, we're all good, thank you. Okay, Robert, you can begin, thank you.
Okay, it's Department K25. It's on page K25 of your book,
Yep.
and this has a revenue component and an expenditure component. So I'll go over the expenditure component first, which is if you flip the page. The budget, as proposed, would be a slight decrease by $412 to $749,730. We see an increase in full-time salary. This is a result of a person retired, hired a person. They have to offer it to an in-house union. It was a union position. We offered it to existing union, and a person who looked to take that position was making a little bit more money than the person who left, was at a higher step, and so that's the reason why you see the increase above. All salaries are in the 2.5% range until you get to police, so if you see anything above 2.5%, there's generally a reason for it, and I'll go through those as we go through these budgets. So it had to do with a position, filling a position that retired. We see a decrease in other contractual, decrease in buildings and grounds repair. That has to do with the fact that the Library Board of Trustees bought some new furniture. A good portion of the buildings and grounds repair had to do with cleaning of the older cloth type material. They have a leather replacement, so they see less need for cleaning of having professional cleaners. They can clean it themselves. Electricity is we still continue to run fairly good on electricity, so we feel comfortable reducing that line item by $10,000. So overall, it's a budget that a slight decrease of $412. Is there any questions on the expenditure side?
Robert, was the furniture purchased by the trustees or the Friends of the Library?
It's purchased by the trustees. We have something called the Library Furnishings Fund, and that is an account that is managed by the town. It was when there was money raised for
the library building expansion, and this is the money they keep in reserve for replacing furnishings.
I couldn't, because I know sometimes the Friends have done some things too as well.
Right, yeah, and this time around, we bought leather because we can simply wipe it clean every night instead of the cloth, which is not as durable, so.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Robert, I have a question regarding electricity. I noticed you reduced it $10,000. In 2020 was actual $25,000, and you're budgeting for $35,000, and spent to date is $15,331. I understand some of these might be skewed because of last year's COVID closures and reduced hours and things of that nature. But nonetheless, looking at when it was non-COVID time, the actual was 25,532. So I'm wondering if it can bring that down a little more.
Well, it may be,
Okay.
certainly, there's no exact science to it.
Sure.
I will tell you that on the revenue side, the town contributes, we contribute a lump sum to the library, the operations of the library.
Yep.
And on the revenue side, you'll see a transfer in of $644,951.
Yep.
That's the same as the current fiscal year. So keep that in mind that if you wanted to reduce the electricity,
Yep.
You'd reduce it on the, you'd either give them a larger surplus at the end of the year, anticipated, or reduce the town's contribution to the library by the same amount of money.
part of this also has to do with the solar panels. So we get credits on this account, which is unknown because it's based on the weather. The sunnier it is, the more credits we get. If it's cloudy, we get less credits. Credits lower our amount due, paying the electric bills.
And that's,
It's an unknown quantity.
and that's our, when we join when he's talking about the solar panels, he's talking about the ones out in Franklin, Connecticut.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah, this is one of those.
Not the
we
ones
have-
on top of the library.
Right.
I didn't remember we put them up there.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Right,
It's the
Okay.
solar in Franklin.
So anyway, I was thinking of, rather than 35,000, I would suggest 30,000. Make a change of $5,000 there on the expenditure side. However you want to do it, you said there's the revenue, there's the expenditure, so that would be my thought.
Well, this is the library board of trustees on the expenditure side. Generally, the council takes a look at the transfer in. So,
Okay.
So if you reduce the transfer in by $5,000, Trish
That'll
will
do.
certainly translate to them why that was done and what the reason for it, and it was in an electricity account, which doesn't really reduce their budget to any degree.
Okay, just the transfer in would be
Yeah, it
changed.
doesn't impact their operations.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions for the town manager on the library? Here, question for the council. Do you want to go, as we go through these departments, do you want to approve them as we go through them, or do you want to hold out some that you want to think about? What's your pleasure? How do you want to do this? Usually we go through and make a motion and approve it and keep moving along, and if there's some within which we have questions, we can hold them out till we finish everything and then return to them. What would you like to do? I'm sorry?
I would do it that way. If we're all in agreement and we want to approve it, go ahead and do it, and then we can hold any that we don't, we can
Okay.
have some questions on, yeah.
All right.
That's worked well in the past, yeah.
That good? Prove it, and then if there's some, we'll just hold them out. All right?
Yep, same here, no problem.
So I would say if you were going to take any action on the library budget, I would take it on the revenue side on the transfers in. So that's really the only change you'd make.
Okay. All right. Are we going to look at that next, Robert, or that's
Yes.
further down? All right.
Yes, so just flip the page forward one, and you'll see at the bottom, interfund transfers in general fund of 644. I will tell you that, it's been we had to switch over some of our investments because Wells Fargo was not qualified to be a trustee based on some issues that they had. And it took a while to get that work completed. We're unclear of how much revenue we're going to get out of the trust, the switch over to trustee to RBC. At this point in time, and I don't know if you have any updates on that, Rob, or not, but our recommendation is that you either keep the transfers in at the current rate or reduce it by the 5,000 that we talked about. That, as it stands right now, would mean that the drawdown from the library's fund balance would be, at the most $42,000. You'll see that right above the 644. We don't think that entire amount will be needed. There'll be some revenue coming in from that. And I will tell you that the current fund balance in the library fund is $141,000. So we're not cutting it close to the edge there as far as that's concerned. So we expect that in worst case scenario will still be, the library will have a fund balance of over $100,000 even under the worst case scenario.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, the estimates that Robert are talking about under the endowments are just that at this point in time. They're estimates based on the latest information I have, but we to date have not received anything for this fiscal year, and we will not really know how much we're going to get next year until we start receiving something for this year. So they really are estimates, very big estimates at this point in time, let's put it that way.
Okay. All right, Robert, so are you looking for a motion to approve the revenue at this point in time?
Yeah, the bottom line, which is line 49105, interfund transfers in general fund, either at 644,951 or something
Yep.
less than that if you want to make it 639.
639,951.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion then to approve the interfund transfer general fund in the library with a reduction of 5,000? Can
Yep.
I have a motion?
Madam Chair, motion to approve the interfund transfer general fund in the amount of 639,951 for Department 520.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that action? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thanks, Robert.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trish. All right,
Next is G21.
senior citizen services, easier looking at than saying.
Say it 3 times fast.
I'm not going to try that.
Requesting, or I'm recommending a budget of $351,494, which is an increase of $8,904 or 2.6%. All the increases are in the salary line items. You'll see full-time salary. We have 3 employees, full-time employees. That would be an increase of, that's a 2.55% increase, so it's, right around the 2.5%. And the part-time salaries, pretty much all of that is a result of the increase in the minimum wage above what it would normally be. So it would normally be 2.5%. It's 3.64 because we made some adjustments with regards to the minimum wage. For example, if somebody was making the minimum, somebody was making what would be the minimum wage, as the minimum wage comes up and the person's closer to the minimum wage, we boosted them up a little bit to keep the delta, the same. So they're not much above the minimum wage, but that impacted the
Robert,
recommendation.
now that you're talking about the minimum wage, do we have any employees that are at minimum wage other than seasonal? And we have some seasonal employees that we have.
Right, we have incoming seasonal is
Yep.
generally around minimum wage. We have our seasonal that have been here for several years are above minimum wage.
Okay. Okay,
So,
another question regarding one of the items in this account, other contractual. Actuals expended was 14,238 in 2019-2020, and spent to date is 6850, estimated at 12,005. I would suggest we could take some money off of the 17,002.
before,
Is there a reason why you have it up to that amount?
I'm going to let Sean answer that question,
Okay.
if that's
Hi,
okay.
Sean.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
The other contractual account covers a lot of different things, and one of the things that we haven't, because of COVID, we haven't spent everything that's under that account because of COVID being closed or having some activities closed, not that we were closed because we were open during the entire COVID, but other contractual covers things such as the instructors, and we don't have all the instructors working now because we can't. We can't have a lot of the classes, and because it's not safe, or we don't have the room for them, or the interest wasn't in them. And so that's why we are hoping to be back in business again and doing what we do best and having tons of people doing lots of things. And so that's why we left it at the amount that was budgeted for last year. We left it as a 0 increase from last year.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So even looking at that, and I understand as we go through all of these, there's going to be this COVID, effect on the actuals and the expended and that sort of thing. But the actual expended in 2019-20 was 14,000, and right now we're at 6850, and you're estimating 12,500. So that's still some fair amount below the 17,000.
Keep in mind that
The fiscal year 20 was COVID. That was when it was the heaviest. We didn't have any activities, and the center we had nursing, transportation, social services, and a lot of things going out of the center, Meals on Wheels and all of those kinds of things. but we didn't have any instructors at all at that point.
For the last quarter of 20.
Okay,
So the current year is what we're in, the 14,238.
was like from
Third quarter.
March to June?
yes.
There was no, so that's 3 months of the year that you didn't spend $3,000 or thereabouts?
Right, and there was nothing going on at the senior center at that point in time.
Do we actually have what their, that line was the prior year, just as a point of reference? It's hard to do some of these looking.
You mean
that
the
has-
actual spent?
Yes.
Okay, let me get that.
So that would be,
19.
Fiscal year 19.
if it's not too much,
He's going to go into
Yeah,
ClearGov.
I could find it, yeah.
Got in ClearGov.
I know I was in there today. It's very interesting stuff out there, but I couldn't find everything he knows, I'm sure.
Well, it takes a lot of getting used to, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need a little user,
Primer.
primer on.
You know, I was able
ClearGov.
to see a lot of things about population, incomes compared to 2 other towns and things like that, but not really detail stuff.
Yeah.
So we want fiscal year 19?
Yes.
Yep.
This book says 17,495.
What book? do you
Last
have?
year's book?
17,495, that's correct.
Yep.
It was actually
here.
more.
So that was the budget for that year, and the actual was 14,238. Is that
No,
right?
But the budget was 17,002. We spent 17,495 in 19. So, you know, as a general comment throughout this budget book, like Robert said, really the last quarter of 2020 that you see is actual, not a lot was spent anywhere
Yep.
other than salaries
Okay.
in most budgets. Revenues, you know, specific revenues, library, recreation, anything that was programmatic,
Right.
nothing really came in. So budgetarily, comparing 20 to 21 to 22 is probably apples to orange comparison.
Right.
We really need to compare 19 to, well, 22, really, because 21 is even off.
Even that
Current
is
year
not
we're in
going
right
to be.
now is off.
Yeah.
All right.
So these, like the last 2 years, are almost really not useful for comparative purposes.
So
On most line items, anyway.
Okay. Well, that certainly makes sense.
So in other words, the proposed amount for next year is the same as the proposed amount for last year, but also the same as the proposed amount for 2 years ago.
Right.
Correct.
And over 14,000 of it was spent, even with the last quarter being what it was. So I would be very skeptical of reducing this amount.
Okay. All right, well, this gives us a good set point as we go through the rest of some of these departments to see who have been, you know, how these are going to not look exactly lining up. So, okay, thank you, Rob and Sean, for that information. I appreciate it.
Can I ask one quick question? Because I think we're going to have several departments that fall into this. Do you anticipate next year some semblance of what we were in 2019, or at least to some degree?
Yes, yes, we're seeing a lot more people wanting to get involved. They want to come back and do things. We can't necessarily do what they want to do, but we have more people coming into the building and more people calling about activities and that kind of thing. And it just depends upon the governor and what we're allowed to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's things like we had very few transportation, we had very few people riding transportation, but we did have transportation going all throughout COVID.
Yeah.
But then we weren't able to do our big fundraisers for transportation. So although we maybe didn't spend as much as we have in the past, we are starting to spend more, and we are starting to run full days. And so I think that people are just anxious to get out and about. And people are used to wearing masks and getting out, you know, and a lot of people are getting vaccines. So I think that things are going to be getting back to normal.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions regarding Senior Center, Department G21? Any more questions for Sean or Rhonda? All right, can I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
a motion to approve the senior services budget for $351,494.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Transportation, K-29?
And yes, and this is one that is funded, with revenues as well. So if you flip the page, the expenditure side is on the back side of that. Total budget of $59,040. No change from the current fiscal year, 0%. On the revenue side, which is what you would approve, which is the interfund transfers in from the general fund, which is line item 49101, we're also projecting no change from what the current year's contribution is to the senior transportation. I would point out that the town contributes 53.6% of the senior transportation budget, with the other, 46.4 coming from, other items of revenue, and you can see that up above what those are. Some of the items are some grant funding, some fundraising, ridership, donations, and some of the fund balance, if necessary, out of the senior center itself. We do get a grant of, I think it's something north of 18,000 from the state to support this. And 18,381, you see that on state of Connecticut revenue.
Okay. Are there any questions on this department? All right, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve the interfund transfer general fund in the amount of $31,662 for Department 425.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Rob, do you need the expenditure side approved, or just the transfers in?
For that fund, just the transfers in are fine.
Okay, just one.
Okay, so we're done with that.
Next
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Robert, we have
Recreation?
recreation.
Which is H7. Give me a moment. Okay, the recreation budget, and we have a recreation special fund. The recreation budget, the recommendation is a budget of $180,815. It's an increase of $20,765, or 12.97%. Most of that increase, other than $100, is in full-time salary, and I will point out that in the past, we have funded a administrative assistant's position, half in the recreation budget and half in the youth services budget. So based upon what we expect this person to do going forward, and actually has done it for several years, we felt it was more appropriate to budget the other half in the youth services and take it out of youth services and put it fully in recreation. So what you'll see when we go over youth services is a decrease of about $16,000, $15,915 in youth services, which is coming over as an offset to this increase. So that's really the reason why you see that, you see that large number. You'll see a decrease in youth services, and we'll be going over youth services in a little while. That's a little bit later on in our discussion. If you want to go to youth services right now, we could do that as well.
Okay. Okay, that looks like the only change, pretty much, other than, yeah, that is it. So can I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 510 in the amount of $180,815.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So are we expecting, to have summer recreation programs as in the past, or at this point, do you not know if we're going to have some modification to them?
Well, and we're going to go into the recreation, special fund, which is where that program would come out of, but I'll let,
Okay,
the
You want us
answer is,
to
the
look
answer
at
is,
that first?
the answer is yes, possibly with some modifications, but I'll let Courtney expound.
So
That'd be great.
as Sean was saying,
We are looking forward to a more full-fledged summer than we experienced last year and more programs going into the fall. But we are limited to government policies and the governor's orders and everything like that. We've come up with a couple of creative solutions so we can expand the number of kids that can come to our summer camp, and we're working on pool openings as well. So we're hoping to have more robust participation than last year, but it really depends on what the future holds.
Well, that would be good news
Yes.
for a great many people, I'm sure. Great. Okay.
So if you're at case 16, if you could flip the page over, because that's the expenditure side is on the back side. There is we're projecting, at least at this point in time, a decrease in that budget of $23,330, total budget of $252,755. Some of that is due to the fact that we think we'll need less part-time people, partially because of COVID. That's on the expenditure side. On the revenue side, because we're not going to have as many programs, we're not going to have as much program revenue. What I'm recommending is a transfer in from the general fund of $83,500, which is what we've carried for the last probably 4 or 5 years, 83.5, which is that 491101 number. I will tell you that the recreation fund balance right now is $90,000. We don't know how we're going to end up the year. Whether we have, as you see in our dashboard, we've had less revenue, but we've had less expenses. So I don't know how much of the fund balance we're going to have to use this year, if any. But based upon what we know today, the recommendation is that we fund the recreation programs at the same level as the current or the last several years, which is that 83.5 number.
Okay. So Rob, do you just need us to approve the expenditure piece of this, or you want to do both? We need to do both of them.
This would be similar to the library and senior center, where you just do the interfund transfer in of 83.5.
Okay. Before we do that, does anybody have any questions for Courtney or for Robert regarding recreation? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 515 interfund transfer in general fund of $83,500.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
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 Next item is Planning and Zoning Commission, D11.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Courtney.
Bye-bye.
Courtney started working for us, and she was getting ready to do her summer program, and she was very excited, going to make a lot of changes, and then COVID hit, and so she's like, getting ready to take off at the starting blocks, and it just took the wind right out of her sails. And now we come around to this year, and we're kind of in a better position, but still, you don't know what's going to happen. The rules with regards to pools hasn't changed yet. There's a good chance that they may by the time summer rolls around. And summer programs is when we was kind of a money maker for us. At the park, that really got cut back last year. If we're able to open up more robustly, then that will bring in more revenue. So she has got a lot of good ideas. It's just that it's hard to implement them in this environment. So looking forward to when the reins are off her completely and she can come up with some new ideas as well. So all right, P&Z Commission. Recommending a $50 decrease to $1,400. We're just reducing the part-time, which is the person who takes the minutes, just based on past experience. We do note that there's an uptick in some development, so I didn't feel that we should lower it much more than that, but the budget, as recommended, is $1,400 or a reduction of $50.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to fund Department 111 P&Z Commission in the amount of $1,400. Or $1,400, I'm sorry.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Motion carries.
Next is inland wetlands at D19, sorry. Recommended budget of $1,000, which is no change from the current fiscal year.
Have a motion to approve, please?
They asked for $20 more.
I-
I was very hard on this one.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 113 in the amount of $1,000.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on.
Next is economic development, which is D87. The budget, recommending a budget of $70,800, which is an increase of $10,225, all in full-time salary. I upgraded the economic development position a little bit earlier this year. Part of that, a good portion of that was a significant work on the White Oak development, which I saw going forward, including grant applications and, oversight. Also looked at what other economic development people were making in similar towns. So it brings it a little bit closer to comparative communities. And my concern was that that I wanted to make sure that we retained this employee who started off at a relatively low salary because it was on a starting end, and Cal was also instrumental in our budget, us being able to get the town budget award. He put together all of that information for submission. We received notification just recently that the town of Plainville has been awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for our 2020 budget. Cal did the heavy lifting on that by and large, and certainly his flexibility is very helpful in that if we need help in any other areas, he jumps in and is able to handle that with because he's familiar with our operation. So so the award this year is actually has is pretty much a product of him as well. So putting all of that together, that was the reason why upgraded the salary line item, so this catches up as far as that's concerned for the current fiscal year. Otherwise, the budget stays the same.
Okay.
I mean, some of that would have been an increase anyhow, so the whole increase isn't the upgrade. The upgrade would have been at least 2.5%, so.
All right.
Chair.
May I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to fund Department 170 Economic Development in the amount of $70,800.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to look at this and maybe decide on it another day.
Okay. You want to think about it and then
Yeah.
come back to it?
Yeah. I just think 17%, for anybody, I'd like to look into like comp jobs and see if 70 is in line.
I just want to point out the upgrade's already been made.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if there's no objection, let's leave this one open, and we'll return to that one to finish it up. Is everybody all right with that? Hearing no objection? Okay.
Okay,
We'll
next
leave that
item.
open and come back to it, Robert.
Sure. Next item is F43 Planning. Recommended budget is $79,039. It's an increase of $1,639 or 2.12%. And the increase is in the full-time salary, a little bit less than 2.5%.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve line item 380, total planning, in the amount of $79,039.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. All right.
Okay. Now we're ready to move to D23, which is Board of Assessment Appeals. Recommended budget of $2,550, an increase of $400. It seems like a high percentage, but it's a low number. The reason for the increase is primarily because it's a reval year, and we anticipate that there's going to be more work by the Board of Assessment Appeals, so we generally bump up what they get in a reval year, and then it comes back down again in the following year.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
can I have a motion to approve Department D23, please?
Motion to approve line 114, total BOAA, $2,550.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, next item is Town Treasurer, D59. Recommended budget of $6,324, or $154 above the current year's, which is 2.5%. And this all has to fund the salary of the treasurer. That's the only line item in this budget.
May I have a motion to approve Department D59, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
a motion to approve Department 359?
No,
No,
135.
135, yeah,
Yep.
135 for $6,324.
Second.
I'm sorry. What happened?
I made the motion and Jesse seconded it.
I'm sorry. I was looking over here and I
Yeah,
got lost.
Yeah.
My apologies. All right.
The
I have a
math-
motion and a second.
The mass will do that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, next item is D63, which is the finance. Recommended budget is $243,805, an increase of $7,510, 3.18% increase. The great majority of the increase is in full-time salary, and one of the three full-time persons in that line item in full-time salary is also includes a step increase by a union contract. Otherwise, it's just a small increase in the maintenance contracts of $85.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
motion to approve Department 136 in the amount of $243,805.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next is assessment and revenues, which is on page D67.
Okay,
Recommended budget of $389,213, which is an increase of $2,955, or 0.77%. You see some increases in full-time salary. One of the full-time employees in that department is due a step increase. So that's the reason why that one's up. Is that two step increases or one, Rob?
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
I know we
I
have
believe
some.
it's two.
Okay, so we have two relatively new employees in there, and so they're still working their way up the steps, so that's the reason for that increase. We see a decrease in the need for part-time salary. That used to be somebody who went out in the field and did measurements and whatnot. That person is retired. We still feel we need some of it as we go into reval, but not to the degree that we have in the past. And we're starting to use some of our in-house people to do some of those, to train them and to get them involved with some of that work as well. So we're reducing that line item, as well as the overtime line item, because it really hasn't been used, but we still want to keep a nominal amount in there, keep it open if possible. On operating supplies, we see a decrease based upon past experience. Same goes for some professional development. Although it looks like we haven't used it, they haven't really offered the classes, so we haven't been able to, train our new staff to the degree we have. Some of it's being done remotely now, so that's less costly as well. However, we do feel a need to, we do have people that, are looking to get their certifications in both assessors and tax collection. We have some enthusiastic employees that, and I think they're looking forward to that training. And what you'll see under other contractual and maintenance contracts, so we're just kind of flipping we thought that there was items in other contractual, we felt that that it'd be better suited to be in maintenance contracts, so we're really just kind of flipping those two numbers. Minus 18,639 and an increase of 23,897 on the other side. It isn't a one-for-one, but we have some maintenance contracts increases that are going up as well. So with that, overall, the budget is a just less than a 1% increase.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 137 in the amount of $389,213.
Second that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item is insurance. That's on page D79. It's a very colorful page, but we'll try to walk you through it. Other contractual is our broker of record. When we had a different insurance company, the broker of record was paid through the insurance company. We changed our workers' comp carrier last year, and we overlooked the fact that with Kerma, who we went to, they don't pay the broker of record through their contract. It's up to the town to pay that separately. So that is the reason for the $17,000 request. I will say that by going to Kerma, we did save $40,000. So by paying the broker of record, we now have to pay that separately. We still have a net gain of $23,000 by switching over to Kerma from Trident, which was our workers' comp carrier in the past, and we think we're getting better service as well. Hopefully you were able to follow that. If not, Rob and I can go into more detail if you like. Okay. With regards to our insurance line items, a slight increase in volunteer firemen, our risk insurance, our liability auto policy is going up by $9,051, and you see that down below. It gives you a little bit more detail. So the increases are in the LAP, liability auto property insurance, and the underground storage tank is an increase of $240. So that's of that increase of $9,310, $9,257 is because of those two line items. Rob, you want to give just a little bit more detail on the LAP increase? I know
Yes,
we had some new equipment, so that that brings
Yes,
up values.
the LAP auto and property premium is essentially based on value of our equipment. We have new fire trucks. We have, other new items that we purchased, got rid of some older items, so the value overall of the policy level is higher. And it's, we're budgeting 3% on what we paid this current year. We still do not have a firm number yet. This number is subject to change, but right now, the 3% above current year is our best guesstimate at this point. One thing I will say that I do believe, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, the the fire department balloon fest for this year, calendar year is postponed?
Yes.
Okay. The line item above, the 52496 for 6,600, if the balloon fest is canceled, we can reduce that by the $3,300 policy for the insurance policy for the event itself. I just thought of that as I was sitting here. I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about that, so
Yeah,
I'm glad
no,
you said that
you could,
because,
yeah.
yeah, because last year it was 0, so this year
Right.
it should be 0 too, because they
Right.
did send out notice on Facebook that they weren't going to have it this year.
Okay, yeah, I just thought of that now as I was sitting here, so,
We did budget it last year. We're not going to spend it,
right.
and we didn't spend it. Certainly you can reduce that. We're not going to pay for it. And just remember, of course, that it'll be an increase next year.
Okay.
If you choose to do that. So that's your preference, obviously, if you want to do that.
Yep.
With regards to workers' comp, you see a 0.79% increase in workers' comp. So it's very minimal increase to workers' comp. Some of that is based upon the fact that we ended up spending less than what we had budgeted, so the increase is less.
And at the same time, our carrier has told us that there's a 0% increase on the premium itself, but our cost is going up due to salary increases. And a lot of that is based on overtime, the road projects. We have a lot more overtime costs, so our workers' comp is a little bit higher just for that, but the premium level itself is at a 0% increase for this year.
And that's KRMA.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, Rob or Robert, if you could help me out, where is our health insurance? Is that
We'll
other
be getting to
department?
that. Yeah, we'll be getting to that. Another
Okay, I
department.
have a question about something with that, but I'll hold it until then.
Okay.
Okay, all right. All right, any questions for Robert or Rob regarding this department?
Or-
Insurance?
Are we going to make a motion on this stuff? right
To
now?
reduce it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say if you're going to reduce it by the 6,600, is that what we're talking?
33.
33, sorry. Oh, yes, right. I would make your motion with that included.
Right, I'm just, so you have to do each, you want me to do each?
No, just,
That's a 29,565?
There's no total.
yeah, the total is 626,885.
Oh, okay, up in the middle of the page.
After the reduction, it's 623,585.
Correct.
580, okay. All right. You want to do that, Jesse?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 160 insurance in the amount of $623,585.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions on what we just did? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay.
Solid Waste Management, which is G15. I don't know why Rob goes with these dark blue colors. Some of us are a little older, so it's a little hard to read her, but,
Yeah, it's getting harder for me too.
okay. Light blue. Okay, anyhow. Recommended budget of $1,273,570. It's an increase of $28,400 or 2.28%. With regards to other contractual, that's an increase of $42,925 or 4.97%. And let me, there's two basic reasons for that. The Covanta tip fee, which is included in that line item, is increasing by 2%. We're anticipating 2% increase from $67.01 to $68.35. So although we haven't received the final number, that generally goes up by the cost of living, and that's usually factored in as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year. So we really don't know that before we set this budget. I will tell you that 68.35, there's most of the towns in the state of Connecticut are jealous of that tip fee number, especially the mirror towns that are paying significantly more than that. But that's a relatively low number considering, and we're with 14 other towns with the BRRFOC. And we have seen more trash. We're recommending budgeting 500 more tons at that 68.35, which comes out to 7,300. Those tons result in an increase of $34,175. The increase in the tip fee is $7,371 calculated. So $41,546 of the $42,425 is the result of what we feel we need to budget, 500 more tons of trash, and the increase to the tip fee. Sorry if that was somewhat confusing, but I'll try to answer any questions if anybody has any with regards to that particular line item. Other than that, on the recycling, you'll see a decrease of $11,625. And although we are anticipating that next year's tip, contract with Murphy Road is going to go up a little bit, their tip fee is based upon revenues that they receive, and they use that as a credit against the bill. We don't get the money; it just becomes a net number to us. And we're currently paying, we're budgeting somewhere around $75.
We budgeted 73.35 a ton this year.
Right, so we're recommending a budget that goes up slightly to 75 something, was it?
74.82.
7482. And, but we're anticipating that the market seems to be pretty good, that we will net out, less than that. What was our latest bill payment?
Yeah, forgot, I'll get
It
it.
was like $62. I think it netted out to like $62 a ton, which is what our latest one was.
Yeah, our latest bill this past month was 62.37.
So we're hoping that that trend continues to the point where we feel comfortable enough to recommend that, well, our tip fee's higher, that it'll net out to be lower than that. Every day you read something new in that area where they're now stopping boats from going into certain ports with recycling, and that may bump up, the cost of recycling, which bring us closer to the tip fee. But at this point in time, we're recommending a decrease in the recycling line item, understanding that that's an educated guess, so to speak.
Right, at the beginning of the year, we were paying, in July, we paid 81.43 a ton. Now we're paying 62.37 a ton 7 months later. So it is a big estimate, but it has gone down consistently, as you can see from the spreadsheet that's on the screen, if you can read it. Every month it's gone down so far this year through January.
We didn't feel good in July, we felt better in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that was a matter of concern for us.
Yeah. So it's a volatile number, but, based upon best information we have today, we feel comfortable with that. As far as our gasoline and diesel line item, we lowered that just based on past usage. And plus we got a better deal on gas and diesel going forward. Prices have come down somewhat and we've locked in. So that's not based on anything that's going to happen or is happening as we speak.
Yeah, we locked in really early. For gas, they would only let us lock in at 6 months. We did this at the beginning of COVID last year, so about a year ago. They would only let us lock in for 6 months for gas, but they let us lock in for all 12 months for diesel. And our price went down dramatically. And even when we locked in for the second 6-month period for gas, that was still substantially lower than what we're paying this year. So we did very, very well with our fuel bids for the 22 year.
Okay, complicated department, but important.
Well, certainly a lot of money.
There's money in trash. All right, any other questions or comments for this? May I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
A motion to approve for Department 415, $1,273,570.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item is debt service which is I-05, I-5. Recommending a budget of $4,430,350, which is the current amount, no change to the current fiscal year. You will see that we're recommending a decrease in the line item for principal by $670,000. We're recommending a decrease in interest of $305,063. That total decrease is $975,063, and we're recommending that we hold that for miscellaneous costs, which would be the transfer to the health, to make up the deficit in the self-insurance fund, and that's what we spoke about last month at the council meeting.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to fund Department 710 in the amount of $4,430,350.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Next item is Kathy's interest one for employee benefits on page I-9, or at least that section.
Thank you.
Recommending a budget of $3,979,991, which is an increase of $115,725 or 2.99%. You'll see municipal retirement and police retirement. We see a decrease in the municipal retirement because we've had some retirements, and the police retirement going up by 11%. A good portion of that is the result of our lowering of the interest rate assumption, which is, the GFOA and the has recommended that the towns, I think we used to project 8% on our return. We've slowly tried to decrease that over time. This would lower the interest rate assumption from 7.25% to 7.125%, so 1/4%, or an eighth percent. Eighth of a percent. Our goal is to get down to 7%. So next year would be, if you decrease it this year, the assumption, we would do it one more time next year, and that would bring us down to 7%, which is the goal. And who knows if they move the goalpost next year? We can only time will tell. But a good portion of that increase is a result of lowering the interest or the return on the investments that are in the defined benefit plan. Rob, you have update on how funded we are on both of those plans?
Yes, we are at 81.5% on roughly both the town and the police plan. The percentages on both plans went down 1% over the past year, valuation-wise, and that has to do with the rate of return on the investments due to the market conditions. So, which again is another reason to lower the interest rate assumption, which helps us when the market does turn around. But in the meantime, we have to fund that difference. So that 1% difference that the plans went down is actually funded in this number you see here. And, at the same time, life expectancy, we changed the life expectancy table 2 years ago to be a little more accurate and current. We took a hit a couple years ago on that. But, which essentially means that people are living longer and there's longer payouts, more payouts, longer duration of time. So again, those assumptions are factored into these numbers you see here.
But being in the 80% plus areas is pretty good for municipalities.
Very good, yeah.
You may have noticed that West Hartford was in the 40% range a couple of months ago, and they decided that they were going to do bonding to bring that up significantly, so to make up that deficit.
Bristol has been over 100 for a while, haven't they?
Yes, they
Are you
have.
familiar with them?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Well, I just know from several years past I knew that. But what is the recommended funding level in terms of, what our financial advisors suggest? Where should we be?
Well, we are, like Robert said, 80% is a good number.
Okay.
81%, where we're at is good. When it gets lower than that, where it comes into play is when we go out to bond. The rating agencies look at this and say, okay, you should be a little bit higher. When you get down, I believe the magic number is around 65%, where you're really going to start thinking, okay, we got to do something. So
Okay.
West Hartford, who delayed payments for years and years, got to a point where we had a bond. So now they bumped it up because their rating was going to take a hit, more than likely, is my guess. In fact, I think I have a seminar next week that the West Hartford Finance Director is going to speak at via Zoom. That I'll get a little more details on that. But it's really the rating agencies that drive this. And, ideally, you want to be at 100%, but, if we were to go out of business, you need to be at 100%. But we're not going out of business. So the rating agencies know that. So, to your point of Bristol funding it at 100%, maybe that wasn't truly necessary over time, but they did it. It's great. But, that money could have gone elsewhere perhaps, because you're not going to go out of business to fund it. So, and when somebody retires, which is why you see the decrease in the municipal side here, your funding is all of a sudden at 100% for that individual. Therefore, you don't really have to fund for that individual anymore, and you're only funding for changes in the interest rates.
Rob, but we have Hooker and Holcomb that give us the ARC recommendation. Did we get that ARC recommendation?
Yes, we did.
And we're funding the ARC recommendation.
We're funding exactly what our actuaries tell us to fund.
Okay.
At
I think
at
that's
I guess that was-
I think that's what the question was.
That kind of was my question, but I
sorry.
appreciate your
I thought
filling
you
in
meant-
my blanks, because there's a lot of them about some of this.
No, that's,
No, I'm sorry. I thought you meant Bristol's funding level was 100%.
no, it is, but that's
It
not what
is.
the question was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's
I only
not-
have
did
one
I
ear,
say
so I
that?
can only hear certain things, so.
I thought I said, yeah, Bristol had funded theirs at 100, but this is some years ago.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it's still there or greater than.
Yeah, they're over 100%. They're still above 100%. They're like
Yep.
120%, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we fund the ARC, the amount that's recommended. We fund
Okay.
at 100%. So the numbers you see here in this budget's at 100%, and then it's just a matter of the market, and payouts for that year. That changes the contribution amount for the subsequent year.
Okay. Thank you for that.
She didn't say it directly, Rob. It was kind of indirectly, but I was able to read through the tea leaves there. So.
Well, again, with my 1 year nowadays, some things get lost.
All right. With regards to Medicare and FICA, those are increasing based upon salary increases, so those are directly functional of salary. The medical premiums, right now they told us, we've been told that not to expect an increase. I think we budgeted, what, a 1% increase just in case things
Just
change?
slightly less than 1% overall, yep.
And all the other changes are relatively minor. Unemployment compensation, I will point out, it's a $4,000 increase. It's not a big budget to begin with. We are finding that people are applying for more unemployment compensation, and those are basically our part-time people. Our seasonal people are eligible for unemployment. When you give $300 surplus, checks to unemployment people, you may get $10 for unemployment, but but the check that they get is $310. So, so somebody who says who cares about the $10 cares more about the $310 or the $610. So they apply for unemployment. We don't have to pay the full benefit of the unemployment,
Right.
But it gets reflected in some of our numbers. Somebody who works for us this summer is not getting. We're not paying out their full benefit on the unemployment. It's just. Some of it has to do with how much salary you have and what your past jobs look like. But we have more people applying for unemployment, so we wanted to bump that up a little bit.
Okay.
And physicals, we're bumping that up a little bit as well because they're getting more expensive. But it's a 3% increase in employee benefits. Given that. A good portion of that is in police retirement, and some of it is tied to salaries. I feel pretty good about that relatively low increase.
Mm-hmm. So my question that has to do with this department, we have accidental death and dismemberment. I guess that's what that is, AD&D, and then it's life, long-term disability, and EAP. EAP is Employee Assistance
Program.
Do we offer short-term disability to employees that have to stay out for, let's say, up to 12 weeks? Do we have short-term disability?
We do not.
We do not. So if somebody has to stay out for surgery or whatever,
They use their
12
sick
weeks,
days.
they use sick days?
Yep.
And if they don't have enough of those?
They don't get paid.
Oh, they can't swap out vacation. It's not, is your sick and vacation segregated, or is it all together as
It's separate.
paid time out?
It's separate.
It's separate.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I can tell you that we've had very few people who have had to use, didn't get paid. And in those instances where, those rare instances that it occurs, there has been some, contributions from other employees to, so I don't think anybody's gone without without getting their 100% of their payment.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody in my 13 years here that did not get paid for,
That ran out of sick days.
that ran out of sick days or time on the books to get paid. The majority of our employees, I don't know if you want to say good or bad, who are out on leave are probably out on workers' comp, which covers, by contract and by law and all that. So very, very few employees have ever, again, have never seen in my 13 years anybody take long-term disability, run out of time or anything. They've used some of these supplemental policies for other things, for family members, but not the employees themselves.
Okay.
And employees that are, that find themselves to be, relatively sickly, so to speak, they do have, we do offer something like AFLAC where they can, buy a little bit more insurance to cover those instances as well.
That's right.
At a reduced rate.
Right.
Yeah, we offer AFLAC for, the AFLAC and Unum. There's life insurance. There's short-term disability, long-term disability, all supplemental, not paid for by the town. It's 100% employee at group rates, which are lower than if you were to go out in the marketplace yourself and try and get it. So we do have, probably 15 to 20 employees who take advantage of those supplemental plans
Okay.
that we don't do anything with them other than do their payroll deduction to pay the bills
Okay.
that come in.
So they would just contribute themselves through their payroll. Okay.
Right.
To make them whole in the case that they.
Correct.
Right.
So if they file the claim, we don't know about it because they go directly through the company.
I see.
And they generally are public works people who work in in a type of work where you
Sure.
might be more
That
susceptible.
they could be injured or
Yeah.
out for some reason. Okay. Okay, that was my question. Thank you very much. All right. May I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 820 in the amount of $3,979,991.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item is on D97, D07, excuse me, Town Council. Recommending a budget of $74,309, which is an increase of $2,000 from the current fiscal year, or 2.77%. The two line items that we're recommending increases in is other contractual. Other contractual is our audit. So that would be $1,000. And the agency subsidy is, we're recommending that the town join what's known as the Main Street, which is a nonprofit that assists towns in developing and giving advice with regards to their downtown. And with the White Oak project, we think that this, being a member of Main Street, would be beneficial to us in helping us with grant opportunities, advice on other development issues that will most likely come up as part of the White Oak project. It's a resource that other communities have used.
So what exactly does Main Street do? What would they provide for us? What-
They would almost be like a mini consultant, giving us grant assistance, grant advice. If we wanted them to review a contract, they could take a look at the contract. If we wanted them to, one of the things that they are pushing now is a not a geo bond, the revenue.
Revenue bonds or pension bonds?
No. The development bonds where
Oh, the brown,
to increase, to create a separate pocket of money for improving the downtown based upon the increased revenue that you received as a result of, development in the town.
tax incremental finance.
Yeah, TIF financing. So, there's a couple of ideas that they have for the development of downtown. They give it, so it's $1,000. It's relatively minimal. If you like, I can give you the brochure on it, or even have the person who heads that up come in and meet with the council on
Is
that.
that Val Dumay?
No, this would be the person from Main Street.
Yeah, Val Dumay's on the board there, though, isn't he?
Not that I'm aware
I
of.
don't know.
pretty sure. I mean, I get the,
You're
I
thinking
get the
of the
package.
foundation.
the
There's,
Main
yeah, it's
Street
confusing.
This is different.
Okay, so it's totally different.
You know, it's, yeah,
Okay.
it is confusing, though.
It
I know,
really
I've
is,
seen the
because
emails, and
there
I think,
are,
and then I have to look at the email to realize which one is which, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the Main Street Foundation.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
This is,
thank you for that
this,
clarification.
this was something that used to be in the auspices of Eversource. They
Okay,
used to fund a good portion of this, and I believe they've kind of moved away from that a little bit. But
Lisa always forwards their emails to us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. How much is that fee, Robert?
$1,000.
$1,000? Oh, okay.
It's an annual.
I personally, I'm not sure that we need this. We have, I know that we have very gifted economic development person on staff, but if you think this group is going to provide something in addition to that, I would be okay with it for a year and review it and then figure out if this is actually going to, bring to fruition things that we think they would be useful for. But at this point, I'm not sure that's
Well-
necessary.
What I would recommend is you keep the 1,000 in there. And between now and June, the beginning of the fiscal year, we'll have the person from Main Street come in and tell you about what they can do and what they can't do. And if you decide not to go with Main Street, we just won't pay it. And then so it'll be, we'll save $1,000 on next year's budget. But, I think you'll feel comfortable with their program.
Yeah, I guess I'm not particularly clear on what benefit they would bring that we don't already have in our toolkit, if you will.
If you may, I will tell you that on ClearGov, nope, hang on. There is a document that Cal uploaded with his budget request that actually shows what the entity does for us. Why am I spelling this wrong? Hang on, what's going on? Okay, here we go. Just a little delay. So, I know you haven't had a tutorial yet on this, but I'll try and pull up what I'm talking about for you so you can see.
It's under town council.
Yeah, I know, but I think he uploaded it here. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes, it was under
Yep,
it was under 170 originally,
yep,
because this year it's being funded
right,
prorated out of
right.
170.
So I don't know if you can read this or not, but.
Can you print that?
I could print this for you, yes.
Yeah, why don't you make,
So maybe we could have that for tomorrow. Can we just, okay,
Yeah, I mean, I could print it now and you can
something for tomorrow?
keep it overnight, whatever you want to do, yeah.
Okay. Just to have a little bit more information about what they do and what they may do.
While Rob is printing that or whatever we're doing with that, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Just looking at the budget commentary versus the actual budget in line 52,401, the budget commentary says 7 council members at $200 each, which would be $1,400, and the line item is $700. Is the commentary wrong or is the budget wrong?
well, we don't think you'll all use it. You can't spend any more than 200, but we don't think everybody will take advantage of it.
Gotcha. So you're budgeting 700, even though we could potentially spend 1,400.
That's true. We've never done that.
Yeah, we only expended 179.
Once all the all the community events start happening that we've got to pay to go to. Have you ever seen Chris Wazorko at one of those things? You know, they don't pay for the raffle tickets, Chris.
Well, this is like if you want to go to the CCM conference or the
Yeah.
Council of Small Towns, you know, and, you know.
No, I was just asking because on the budget commentary, it says 7 council members at $200 each, and then on the line, it's $700.
Pick that up.
Well, that's the logic behind it.
That's
so.
because we have to take turns. We can't all go to all of them.
You know, and, you know, you could say 7 at 100, but then the intent of the 200 was that, our goal was that the council wouldn't spend more than
Yeah, I get it.
200 each.
I was just asking, I just didn't know if you were meant to put 1,400 on one line or 100 on a different line, so.
Okay. Any other comments? Beg your pardon?
I was just gonna suggest we'll wait till tomorrow night
Right,
to revisit this.
yep.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay, next slide item is the Conservation Commission, which is D27. Recommending a budget of $1,900, which is a $500 decrease from the current fiscal year, a slight decrease in part-time salary, which is the person who takes the minutes, and a $400 decrease in operating supplies.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to fund Department 116 in the amount of $1,900.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next is the Veterans Council on D31, recommending a budget of $11,142, which is an increase of $137 or 1.24%. The increase is in part-time salaries for the Veterans Council themselves, and we bump up their part-time salaries by 2.5%.
All right, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve line item 119, Veterans Council for $11,142.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
The Recycling Committee, we're recommending a budget of $810, which is the same budget as the current fiscal year, so no change.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to fund Department 121 in the amount of $810.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Next is item D39, probate. Recommending a probate budget of $8,000, which is the current amount we're paying to Farmington, and they've informed us that they are not looking for an increase next year, the Farmington Regional Probate District.
May I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to fund Department 130 in the amount of $8,000.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item is the Town Manager's Office on D43. Recommending a budget of $346,898, an increase of $60,166 or 20.98%. A bunch of this, the reason for the increase is that we're bringing the Assistant Town Manager into this budget. It was previously in data processing. Shirley's salary was in data processing, so you see a large decrease in data processing when we get to it. So for the Assistant Town Manager, it's an increase of, so that covers the increase there, plus 2.5%. So that's the reason for that increase, is we're bringing in the Assistant Town Manager to this, where we feel it's better in the Town Manager's office rather than in data processing at this point in time. Slight increase in professional development because of the Assistant Town Manager coming in. We anticipate that he will be doing some additional professional development over the next fiscal year. And we are also recommending a decrease in other contractual, $2,500. You see that $2,500 under line item 52435? It was kind of a misprint. We're trying to consolidate Copy machine moving to 155 data processing, so you'll see an increase in that, and somehow a mistake was made and it was in this line item. So we actually are recommending a line item that's $2,500 less than what I stated earlier. So it would be a budget of $344,398, or an increase of $57,666, rather than the $60,166.
Wasn't that move made last year?
Not for this, not for copy machines. I think it was done for office supplies, or we were consolidating, Advertising was last year.
Oh, that's right.
No, that's not, well.
So Robert, I need some help with your math. Not your math, but the way I understand the math.
Okay.
So last year, when we were going through this exercise of doing some changes to your area, the town manager's office, human resources, and that sort of thing, you had created a little spreadsheet for us.
Yeah, the spreadsheet was not part of the budget. The spreadsheet was done afterwards, so what we saw was.
Right, but what I'm trying to do is tie back the numbers from a year ago back to where we are today and how this has all evolved to where we are.
You'll see a salary decrease of $105,000 in data processing. The HR person had an increase of $22,547. And then the TM was, we had some money budgeted as the assistant to the town manager, but we made it an assistant town manager. So we have a decrease in the assistant to the town manager, but an increased salary as a result of the fact that was brought to an assistant town manager's position. So that increases this budget by $59,476. Not all of it is because the assistant town manager has to do with the 2.5% increase that would normally go to the other employees in this line item. So it's not going to tie in directly, to these numbers exactly, because some of these numbers include increases to the other employees that are part of this budget.
I understand that.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm trying, maybe when we get to, I'm going to ask to hold off on this just for the moment, okay? Because some of these things that we did last year, we're going to be talking about in the HR department as well. So I'm just trying to look back at what we did and try to get it straightened out in my mind as to where we're going for the next year.
Okay.
The assistant town manager, hold on. We had a salary in Department 155 of $105,000, is that right?
Yes,
And that was brought into this department, correct?
part of it, yes.
The entire amount?
No,
Which amount?
59, well, it's less than 59,476, but, I don't have the exact amount.
All right, and then the 46,000 of the rest of that salary went where?
22,547 went into HR, and the rest was savings.
Rest went where?
Savings, about $23,000 in savings between those changes. Which is, I believe, somewhat close to the number I gave you when we were doing that analysis.
So 22,547 went into Department 132,
Yes.
right? 23,000 in savings
Yep.
for current year, where we're in?
Well, you are going to see some savings in the current year.
Current year.
But we budgeted these full salaries when we did the budget last year.
Yep.
So you get savings this year and savings next year, budget to budget.
Could you do me a favor for tomorrow and lay that out for me?
Sure.
Just what we, where we were last year. I have this nice little, it's a very simple spreadsheet, which fiscal year assistant town manager, assistant to the town manager, BOE, part-time position, and combined HR director positions that we spoke about, all these different moving things. Could you please lay out how this all worked out for what you're asking us to do for next year?
Sure. And
I'm trying to do it, but I'm afraid I'm not getting it right, and I don't want to be unsure of what I'm looking at.
Sure. And what was the savings on that sheet of paper?
There's no savings. Want to see it?
No.
So I think she's asking for Department 131, 132, and 155 on a spreadsheet. Am I correct, Kathy? 155 data processing, 132 HR.
Yep.
And 131 town manager.
Town manager. There's
On
three.
a spreadsheet,
There's three departments that we're
Right.
talking about with the money.
right.
Okay.
Would you mind doing that?
Sure.
Okay. So what I would like to do is save for tomorrow the town manager, human resources, and data processing. Data processing, all the funds actually most of them are going to be taken out of that department.
That's correct.
Okay. So if you could just show us how that worked out.
Okay.
I would appreciate that. I hope everybody's okay with that, because I do want to see how this
Yep.
transpired. I know where we started last year, where we ended up, and I just
Okay.
want to see how this all worked out for us.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, we can talk about some of the other things in your budget that you think we should know about. Not much there.
Right. No other changes other than what I
Just
pointed out.
salary. Okay. Most of it's in salary.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so we're going to revisit that tomorrow.
Okay. Next one is human resources. Do you want to go through human resources at this point in time? D47?
We can go through it. I'm just, again, that's all part of this moving of creating positions and changing things in dollars. So if you could, if there's anything else, the rest of it to me looks fairly straightforward in terms of professional development. Other contractual is usually labor relations service.
The other contractual is pretty much psychological exams for police, primarily.
Okay,
Each exam is about $800 out the door. So we're budgeting for 3, and then there's I believe $155 miscellaneous for other things that just may occur during the year.
okay. Does anybody have any other questions other than the salary issue, which we're going to have explanation on tomorrow?
Oh.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Next item is elections on page D51. Recommended budget of $68,050. It's an increase of $1,305 or 1.96%. All of that increase is in the registrars and assistant registrars of, somewhere around 2.5%.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to fund Department 133 in the amount of $68,050.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Okay, next one is Town Attorney, D55. Recommending a budget of $144,162, an increase of $2,725. That is that increase is in other contractual, which is for the town attorney, a 2.5% increase to what the town attorney is currently getting as a stipend. I guess not a stipend, but a retainer, however you want to put it. I will point out on contractual labor, we had a savings this year due to the fact that the council decided, to extend the contract over 3 years without using a labor attorney, not going into full negotiations. So that saved, probably pretty much, most of that line item. We do have 2 contracts that are up at the end of next year, the end of June 22, so we would negotiate that probably in the spring of next year. So that's why we're recommending that you hold that contractual labor at the amount that we have for the current fiscal year, because we have 2 labor contracts coming up.
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
motion to fund Department 134 in the amount of $144,162.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next is Town Clerk on D71. Recommending a budget of $208,047. It's a decrease of $2,885, minus 1.37%. We're seeing a decrease in the full-time salary. We had a retirement, and the new town clerk was hired at a slightly lower salary than what the town clerk who left us and retired from, so there's a little bit of a savings there. The other line item is we're lowering operating supplies but increasing professional development, so it's kind of a swap, and just two minor items in maintenance contracts and equipment repair.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to fund Department 150 in the amount of $208,047.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Next is data processing, which is D75.
Yep.
See a decrease in the salary line item, the 105,000, which was filtered into other departments, and we'll put that spreadsheet together.
So Robert, just a question, because most of this department is being eliminated, transferred elsewhere. Do these other very small items need to stay in here? Or can they be put somewhere else just to,
So what?
tidy it up?
Right, what this department truly is now is an IT department, data processing in general. Okay, so prior to our consolidation with the Board of Ed for IT purposes, the assistant town manager's salary was in here because that position primarily ran the town side IT department.
Yep.
Okay, so most of our software maintenance contracts, contractual services always were in this department, and we envision continuing to be in this department. However, there's no salary related to it because the Board of Ed IT department's running the town side IT now. So these costs that are here are still software maintenance contracts, our admin's general ledger software, our Microsoft 365, all of our email accounts, all of that stuff is primarily here. That the Board of Ed IT department runs for us and gets us the costs and maintains for us, but we're paying for those costs through this department. So it's truly an IT department standalone without any salary rating.
So you don't think it could go under general administrative services?
We could. I mean, we could consolidate it, but at the same time, we also have our copier maintenance contracts in here now too, which is the $2,500 we just, you may reduce tomorrow in the town manager department budget. Again, making it central to one department instead of multiple departments. It's true, I mean, we could consolidate it, like Robert said, with 165 general administrative services. But at the same time, there are a lot of different contracts that these dollars represent. And again, if you have insomnia and want to look at it on ClearGov, you could see all of these costs detailed, in the sheets that are here in ClearGov. So for example, the other contractual services, 24/5 is our admin's licenses, 16 users. That's what our cost is for 2022, 24,005. Our maintenance contracts, we have several. Copier maintenance, as we just talked about. There's printer management contracts, the Microsoft 365, admins, all the modules we have, general ledger, human resources, accounts payable, all of that. Our antivirus software, our Windows, internet filtering, firewalls. I mean, there's so many different departments.
Yep.
I would rather keep it segregated from general administrative
Okay.
services, you know what I mean? Because it is specific to data processing and IT.
Okay, that's fine. If it's better for your purposes, I can understand that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of moving pieces.
Okay.
It's
Nope.
not just one line.
Sure.
item. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to hold off approving this budget or reducing the 105?
I think we can approve it because we already know about the salary, what has happened there, and I'm not sure that anybody wants to make any changes to some of these maintenance contracts and other contractual obligations we have, as Rob explained, for all these different things we do.
I will say that these costs that are budgeted here are actual quotes from the vendors we have currently. We're not, I don't think we're waiting on anything at this point in time contractually for any of these costs.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
I'll make a motion to fund Department 155 data processing in the amount of $102,540.
Second?
I have a second?
Second.
Okay, yes, okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Next is General Administrative Services under D83. Recommending a budget of $90,008, a decrease of $1,512 or minus 1.65%. Seeing decreases in part-time salary, decreases in other contractual, some minor decreases in maintenance contracts. Was there copy cost in this one as well, Rob, that got moved over to the other department or on the maintenance contracts? Do you recall?
Let me check. We have the mail machine and the copy machine. It's in town clerk, the mail room. We did leave those in here and not move it to data processing.
You didn't move the copier from this one over to copy?
No,
and type?
I guess we did not.
It may be listed there, may have moved over.
If I may,
Go ahead.
that was my oversight on that. I wasn't aware that we had that in the line item. I was the one leading the copy.
I mean, if we're going through the motions, we may as well remove it here and add it to data processing to keep it consistent. 'Cause our thought, like I said, was we plan to go out to bid at some point in time in the near future for a overall townwide maintenance contract and copier machine.
Can you go into the detail? Do you know what that amount is that you had for the copier contract?
$1,116, which you can see on the second line up on the screen right now.
So if we were going to approve, so we would reduce this budget by another $1,116?
Yes, and then
increase
add
the other one?
that to data.
And then you're going to add it to data?
Yeah, if that's what you want to do, yeah. It's up to you.
Whatever you guys think is
Well, we
going to
wanted to
be most
consolidate-
appropriate.
We wanted to consolidate all the copiers. What we've discovered is that there's
Yeah.
still a copier here. So we will, we'll add it to the data processing, which you haven't approved yet.
Correct.
And then we'll just decrease it from this
Well,
one now.
We did.
We just
just
did.
We
did.
approved data
We
processing.
just did.
You can amend
But we
it.
can go back and
You can amend
fix.
it, yeah, you can amend whatever you
We can go back and adjust it, right?
Yes, you could,
We did
yes.
approve it.
Yep.
All right, so,
Take that back.
Yeah. It is.
so
Just like being at
let's
home.
go back to D75, okay? And we're going to increase that by 1,116, and it's going to be other contractual, or is it maintenance?
Let's put that under maintenance,
Maintenance
please.
plus 1,116,
116. Yep.
okay. All right, I need a motion to, I don't know, change it, amend it, amend the first motion.
So that would be 103,656 for the new amount for that?
103,656, yes.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
motion to open and amend Department 155 data processing from 102,540 to 103,656.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Everybody understand? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now to Department 165.
So we would subtract that amount from the 90,008.
Yep,
Correct.
What's that number, Rob?
You would get $88,892, a decrease of $2,628 or 2.87%.
okay, can I have a motion to
Madam-
approve?
Motion to approve Department 165 in the amount of $88,892.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Everybody knows what we did there again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Next,
Done.
oh, sorry. Next is Health and Sanitation, which is G7. Recommending a budget of $116,602, which is a decrease of $591. The reason for the decrease is that the per capita was lowered by the health district recently. So our per capita went from $6.75 per person to $6.65 a person. However, our population, it's a per capita basis, our population went up slightly from the previous year, from 17,274 to 17,534, according to the State Department of Health. Those are the numbers that are used. So overall, it's a net decrease of $591.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve, please? Go ahead.
Motion to approve Department 410, Health and Sanitation, in the amount of $116,602.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next is Other Health and Welfare Services, which is on page G11. Recommending a budget of $53,865, which is the current year's amount. Those three items that we fund out of this Other Health and Welfare goes to Pro Health Physicians, which is over at the Senior Center. They get some revenues with regards to that as well. Plainville Early Learning Center and the miscellaneous other agencies. So no change from the current year as far as what we did. No change for next year in comparison to what we've done this year and in previous years.
All right, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
a motion to approve Department 412 Health and Other Health and Welfare Services for $53,865.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in the favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Next is Social Services on page G25. Recommending a budget of $30,591. It's an increase of $741 or 2.48%. That increase is in the part-time salary, paying for our part-time social service agency or agent, our part-time person. So it's a 2.5% increase to their salary.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve line item 430, social services, for $30,591.
Second?
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Next
Next
is
one.
Youth Services on G29. Recommending a budget of $114,009. It's a decrease of $15,173. And that's basically, there is an increase to the full-time salary, but the major decrease is in the, is in the shift from the,
to recreation.
yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve line item 440, youth services, for $114,009.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unclassified.
Unclassified under I-12. We've historically budgeted, let me find my I-12. We've historically budgeted $30,000 for unclassified, recommending the same amount. And you have a little bit of a history down below as far as that's concerned as well.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 30 unclassified in the amount of $30,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
That's all we had for this evening.
Yay.
Oh, well,
Yay.
nice.
You can see our schedule for tomorrow, which will be Public Works, Water Pollution Control, Department of Technical Services, the Fire Department, as well as the Police Department. And if we have some time, we'll do some revenues, and we'll also catch up with the ones that we deferred till tomorrow.
Okay.
All right? And then we have the Board of Education on Wednesday. And we were going to go over the capital budget at that time. The feeling was that we would consolidate capital into one evening. And
Yep.
so we feel, based on where we are right now, we should at least be able to finish up the expenditure side of the budget by, perhaps Wednesday, maybe Thursday.
Okay, just a question regarding revenues.
Sorry.
Because of you had sent us a letter from our congressperson, and there are going to be revenues coming into Connecticut specifically, each town's getting their own assignment of money. Can you talk a little bit more about that? We can do it tomorrow if you like, about what we can anticipate and how some of these are going to be able to be allocated. I think some of the Board of Ed dollars, they're certainly not going to spend all in one year. It has to be broken out for subsequent years in terms of when the monies can be spent. If you could let us know if that would be the same for the town in terms of those revenues and what limitations, if any, there are on them.
As it stands right now, we've received no indication on how those monies, whether there'll be any strings attached to those monies.
Okay.
But number two is I am participating in a CCM, National League of Cities. I think it's an hour-long program tomorrow that may speak to it, so I may have some information for tomorrow night. The thing with revenues is you really don't have to do anything with revenues till you set the mill rate. So you have time until, you're not approving
Sure.
revenues until you set the mill rate, which is probably going to happen in May. So hopefully by then it's nailed down what we can and can't do with it. But if I have more information based on that Zoom meeting that I'm participating in tomorrow, I certainly will share it with the council.
Okay. Well, I guess my question is this, how those revenues coming in would affect our expenditures. I know that we don't have that information right now, so.
Right.
I'm kind of in between as well. We have the expenditures that you forecast, but if we're going to get revenues, that could help offset some of those expenditures.
Yeah, and I would say I don't know where we're going to end up as far as the flexibility, but I would caution to a very strong degree that you be careful about how you do that, because when that revenue disappears, you're going to walk off a cliff.
Right.
Because you're not reducing you're reducing the expenditures using one-time revenues. It's almost like using fund balance. So, but when we know what we can spend it on, we may give you some creative ways to not walk off the cliff.
We've never done that, of course. But also, in the same regard, ECS funding, nothing yet from the state about the governor's proposed flat funding. I know that they're being spoken about in Hartford with our legislature, but no new information about that either.
Yeah, there was a public hearing last week where Council of Small Towns, recommended that they not delay the phase-in. I contributed to that testimony, reviewing what testimony was going to go in, and made sure there was a relatively strong statement with regards to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the board, voted in favor of that testimony, even though some of those towns were, because it was frozen, would not see a decrease. Not all towns were getting an increase. There were a lot of small towns that were getting a decrease.
Right.
But they saw the wisdom in not going back on the promises. So the overall Council of Small Towns did support opposing the delay, the freeze in the funding. The Education Committee has not completed its recommendation to the General Assembly yet. So there's still some work. There's no indication where that's going as of yet.
Okay. All right, well, a lot of moving parts. Still a mystery for the most part. Okay, well, anybody have, go ahead.
Madam Chair, did anybody happen to notice the revenues the state of Connecticut's going to receive from the federal government? We have a good idea what the town's going to receive, but I thought I saw something like $40 billion. Did anybody hear that tonight?
I,
It was on the news tonight as to what the state was going to receive under the stimulus package.
I don't know what the answer to that is. I know that one part was decided on, but this new, I don't know.
Until the president signs it, I'm not.
You know,
The House still has to approve
They
it,
have to vote. I
so
think they will.
Yeah.
we're not there
I
yet.
do know it's an awful lot of money.
It does sound like
It is
an
a
awful
lot of
lot of
money.
money, yes. Yeah, you are correct.
So when we talk about the educational grants, I would imagine if the state's getting $40 billion, they certainly can afford to bump it up to where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, a lot of work was put into that formula, and it really needs to go forth, because the whole idea of it was that this was, that people could project and, for that period of years, yeah.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely.
Might get inklings on the ECS, you know.
All right, is everybody all set? Any more questions or things you would like to ask Robert or Rob to prepare for us for tomorrow, other than what they've already got on board?
I'm all set.
All set? Okay. Jacob, are you all set over there? I can see him.
He said he's all set. It's on my computer.
Oh, you
the
can-
sound,
all right.
So I heard every word I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I guess we need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.